Where are the people that Stephen A. Not gonna do that? Let her cook. I want to know what y'all saying now.
Following the speculations that Caitlin Clark may be leaving for Europe, ESPN is having its own meltdown and appears to be beginning to regret how they handle. The network you would go to witness Caitlin Clark being underappreciated and devalued was Clark all season. They never respected her and now believe they have the power to decide whether or not she travels to Europe.
Okay, now we just have to have people because of marketing and their intention, and they're not as talented. We're not putting the best team out.
All year long, ESPN essentially denied Caitlin credit, with analyst Molly Karam claiming that she was making fun of the sport. How could she say that without laughing? Caitlin Clark transformed the sport and got people talking.
League versus Caitlin Clark, and that is just absolutely false. It is unfair to the women that have been there building this league to this moment so that Caitlin Clark's popularity could take it to the next level.
Another analyst denied that Caitlin Clark was being targeted by players. She was the most fouled player of the season, and at one point she even had a black eye. Hopefully, Caitlin may utilize her time off to look into opportunities in Europe that will synchronize ESPN and the WNBA, leaving them with nothing to discuss.
Making a basketball argument.
We're not saying No, Andrea, I'm not going to let you do that.
Go ahead,
Andrea, I'm not going to let you make it seem like Caitlin Clark was averaging 5 points a game. At the time, she was still averaging 16 points a game, which was more than a lot of other guards that made the team. So don't do that. Don't make it seem like she was averaging 5 points and this was like a handout.
ESPN has spent the entire season disparaging and undermining Caitlin, frequently downplaying her accomplishments while favoring others. Now, they face the very real possibility that the player they have consistently disrespected may leave the spotlight in America and take her talents overseas. It is not surprising that they are worried, knowing full well that losing Caitlin would be a major blow to their viewership and content. It seems like ESPN and its analysts are unable to handle the heat that Caitlin brings, especially now that rumors are circulating about her possible move to Europe rather than continuing her career in the WNBA.
Her value is felt every place she goes, every arena she goes. TV, ratings, value.
ESPN has been minimizing for months. Since the beginning of the season, ESPN promoted the narrative that Caitlin Clark, despite her undeniable star power, was somehow falling short of the enormous expectations placed on her following her record-breaking college career at Iowa, and that Angel Reese, another rising star in women's basketball, was having a better season. With questions from ESPN analysts like Monica McNutt and Molly Cum stoking the flames, the comparison appeared to go on forever. Caitlin's ranking among the best players in the league and the implication that her play was demeaning the women's game.
The response of folks that don't think she is praised enough and she is above reproach in terms of criticism, or that praising another player is an affront to her is like, whoa, bro. You're in my mentions talking about women's basketball. I've never ever seen you before in my life.
The harsh critiques felt deliberate, almost as if ESPN had made it their mission to diminish Caitlin's success by constantly positioning her in the shadow of her peers rather than recognizing Caitlin's contributions to the game. They seemed intent on tearing her down, questioning whether she truly belonged among the WNBA's elite. But here's where the karma comes in. ESPN is now panicking because if Caitlin Clark moves to Europe, they won't be able to talk about her anymore. That's right, the same player they trashed all season long for not being a true star might pack her bags and leave, taking her massive fan base with her. ESPN's inability to recognize Caitlin's impact from the start could end up costing them dearly. For months, ESPN framed Caitlin as only being valuable due to her ability to draw viewership, arguing that she wasn't truly a star on the court but merely a product of media hype. Yet now, with the very real possibility of her departure looming, they're scrambling to reverse that narrative.
You guys were right. That's what we're saying. You
no,
were right.
Molly, you did not say that, Molly.
I'm saying it.
That is what you said.
That's not what you said, Molly.
What are you guys
That is not what you said.
They have come to understand that Caitlin is much more than just a player. They have developed whole narratives and conversations around her. Her departure to Europe would have an effect not only on ESPN's programming but also on the WNBA, which both mainly depended on her appeal to increase viewership and engagement. Take a look at how their perspectives have evolved.
We would love for the WNBA to make voting not anonymous. Because if you were the person that had that one vote, you should just be able to stand on it, and we should know who you are. In the NBA, voting is not anonymous.
Yeah.
So I would love for the WNBA
Agreed.
to make the voting so we see who put the votes where. That's all I'm
Stephen A. Smith and Shannon Sharp were among the few voices who consistently defended Caitlin Clark throughout the season, reminding audiences of her undeniable greatness on the court. Both Smith and Sharp recognized that Caitlin was being unfairly targeted not only by ESPN but also by WNBA players, largely due to her rookie status and the massive amount of attention she garnered during her time in college. They argued that the scrutiny she faced was excessive and that she had already proven herself as one of the top talents in the game. However, even with their backing, Caitlin was subjected to a barrage of criticism from other ESPN analysts, particularly Molly Karam and Monica Manette. PN analysts constantly critiqued her, while WNBA players also set their sights on Caitlin, seeing her as the league's latest high-profile rookie who needed to be humbled and put in her place. The attention she received, both positive and negative, was overwhelming, but Caitlin didn't crack. Instead, she rose above the noise and proved her doubters wrong, delivering one of the most remarkable rookie seasons the WNBA has ever witnessed. Despite the heightened criticism and targeting, Caitlin's resilience and elite play shine through, helping turn around the fortunes of the Indiana Fever and cementing her status as one of the brightest young stars in the game.
Indiana Fever have 2 All-Stars in their starting lineup. They also have the reigning Rookie of the Year. Chicago has none of that. So the lift for Angel Reese has been much greater.
It was no minor accomplishment for Caitlin to lead the Indiana Fever, a team that had spent years near the bottom of the WNBA, to their first postseason berth in what seemed like an eternity. Not only did Clark survive her rookie season, but she flourished, putting on performances that silenced even her harshest critics every single week. Despite the tremendous pressure to perform, her poise and brilliance on the court were nothing short of extraordinary. She elevated a team that many had written off by showcasing her leadership and unparalleled talent.
If we say her stats are today, what?
20 points, 8.4 assists, 6 rebounds.
That's crazy.
But 5
crazy.
5.6
turnovers.
Those are hell of a number.
Those are hell of a numbers.
But to me, that's not
Period.
dominating.
However, despite these successes, ESPN still felt that they needed to change their narrative. By the end of the season, when Caitlin's dominance could no longer be ignored, they were forced to change their narrative and start praising Caitlin as the star, almost as if they had been supporting her the entire time. It was almost comical how quickly ESPN changed their narrative to praise Caitlin after spending the majority of the season disparaging her.
Stop being petty. Stop being catty, because she like a double-edged sword. She couldn't tell left and right. And it's bothering y'all, and I see it. Let's go, Caitlin. Hey, do me a favor, CC. Send your favorite uncle a jersey with your autograph on it.
However, Caitlin Clark didn't want ESPN's approval because she had previously shown everyone wrong during a season in which she was expected to struggle and was frequently singled out by players and commentators who said she wasn't prepared for the limelight. Delivered in a way that nobody anticipated, and she went on to become the standout player of her rookie class. Given the pressure, stress, and targeting she has received from the league and ESPN, it would almost seem reasonable for Caitlin to think about relocating to Europe. This would send a strong message to ESPN and the WBA about what they would be missing if they continued to undervalue one of their brightest stars.
Draft day viewership, which is up 400% to 40%. Between ticket sales, which is up 93% to 16%. Between regular game viewership, which is up 180% to 20%. What Caitlin Clark has done is grown the WNBA exponentially. She did in 5 weeks what would have taken 5 years. And as it pertains to draft viewership, she did in 5 days.
ESPN and the WNBA will only be held accountable if Caitlin Clark does decide to take her skills abroad. They had every chance to promote one of the best young players in the league, but instead they chose to disparage her, downplay her achievements, and undermine her influence on the league. Let's not forget that celebrities like Caitlin bring a devoted, ardent fan base that follows them everywhere they go. If she decides to leave, her fans will follow her to Europe, and the WNBA may find it difficult to sustain the momentum it had worked so hard to build.
Most watched WNBA finals game ever. You know why? I've been telling you about the Caitlin Clark impact. It's nice to see something other than Caitlin Clark having a profound influence on the race.
ESPN would also be severely impacted by Caitlyn's departure because the network thrives on constructing stories around famous athletes, and Caitlin Clark has been one of their most talked about players throughout the season. Sure, they may have occasionally belittled her accomplishments and harassed her, but there's no doubting that Caitlyn was a frequent subject of discussion on practically every sports program.
Years ago, their home attendance was 1,800 fans. Their average this year, home attendance, is 17,000.
ESPN centered a large amount of its coverage of women's basketball on Caitlyn, whether they were disparaging or reluctantly applauding her. Her games, performances, and even off-court actions were frequently discussed and debated. If she leaves for Europe, what will they talk about without her in the WNBA? Her departure would leave a huge hole in the stories and conversations that the WNBA has come to rely on, leaving SC scrambling to fill the void she would surely leave behind. The WNBA must treat its lead star better or risk losing a player who could have served as the league's face for years to come. Caitlin Clark is more than just a gifted rookie. She is a transformative figure who has the ability to elevate the entire league. If she chooses to take her skills to Europe, she will still be a star, but the WNBA and ESPN will have to work hard to fill the huge void she leaves behind. Caitlin Clark represents a new era in women's basketball, one in which players have more control over their careers and aren't dependent on the league or the media to define their legacy. This change gives athletes the ability to make decisions based on their own goals rather than external pressures. ESPN may have spent the season trying to bring her down, but Caitlyn's success speaks for itself. She has repeatedly shown that she is more than capable of overcoming the criticism and rising above the noise.